Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. As always, I'm Grady, and unfortunately Josh will not be live on Skype thanks to a mistake I have made around timings. Just with Easter, we had to shift a little bit earlier with our recording, and I goofed up a little bit, so unfortunately, you're gonna have to listen to just my lovely voice for the next 28 minutes, talking to you all about what happened on Raw and SmackDown this week. We can't even talk about NXT because of Easter as well. We've had to record a day earlier, which means NXT hasn't even happened yet, which means we don't know a lot of what's going to happen into NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. So we got a lot of unknowns floating around where exactly we're going to be next week, but rest assured we will still be here talking to you in this time slot as always. So really, Raw and SmackDown this week were just full of WrestleMania build. That's all we were doing. We were just driving straight forward towards that. We have a couple new matches, a couple changes to matches, and then everything's starting to take place in terms of what's going to be on night one, what's going to be on night two. Because between now and WrestleMania, we've just got 2 SmackDowns and a Raw. So there's still a chance for a little bit of change in the card in terms of what we're going to see, but for the most part, we're solidified, and there's not a crazy amount of matches. There's at the moment only 6 matches per night, so it's not going to be as insane as last year's, which if I just jump back to here, we had 9 matches on the first night and 10 matches. I guess that Big Show one was a dark match, so 9 matches on each night, one of which being on the pre-show each night. So it's calmed down a little bit from that, but we'll have to wait and see how many they end up on. But firstly, the Braun Strowman Shane McMahon match, we knew it was going to happen. They'd been building to it for quite a while at this point, even though Elias and Jackson Riker had stepped in. They'd been doing a little bit of running interference for Shane McMahon. We still knew that Braun versus Shane were going to collide for seemingly no reason. The plot leading into this has been thin at best. It almost seemed like we didn't have a spot for Braun Strowman on the card, and they wanted to give him something, so they threw the boss's son at them for whatever reason, and it's going to be a steel cage match, which honestly was the one stipulation I didn't expect, because I thought Shane McMahon was going to jump off something on the set. You know, that's what we'd always been talking about. Even last year we were talking about there was a chance, Shane McMahon's going to jump off the boat, the giant pirate ship or whatever they're going to have up. And we continued that throughout this year, we're like, oh, and Shane McMahon's going to jump off something cool. And he doesn't, because it's a steel cage match. So he can't leave the cage. And all of a sudden, you're a little bit limited in terms of what he can jump off of. Now, he'll probably just jump off of the steel cage onto Braun Strowman, but that's nowhere near as fun as jumping off on a giant pirate ship as a part of the set. Okay. But we'll take what we can get. Shane McMahon, maybe he didn't want to jump off a pirate ship. Maybe he decided, no, pirate ship, too far for me. Too far for me. I'm not going to jump off of that. Although I don't think those words have ever left Shane McMahon's mouth. So we'll see those two go head-to-head in a steel cage match when WrestleMania rolls around on night one. We also knew that all of this Seth Rollins, Shinsuke Nakamura stuff that was happening was eventually going to lead to the Swiss Superman getting his hands on the Messiah. That's been locked in now at the moment as a singles match. And Cesaro seems to be running hot, especially from the Elimination Chamber. It seems as though Shinsuke's stock has gone down a little bit. Obviously, he had those few matches with Seth Rollins where they both looked amazing. And honestly, there's no reason his stock should be going down. But you take what you can get. And at the moment, it seems as though Cesaro was the man that they wanted to push. Nakamura got that amazing gauntlet match performance, but Cesaro is the one that's getting the program with Seth Rollins leading into that WrestleMania match. And honestly, it does leave a question mark over Shinsuke Nakamura's head in terms of where he lies, because he's one of the bigger talents that is not booked anywhere on night 1 or night 2 at the moment. Not counting potentially injured people or people who were taken off of TV or stuff like that. And yeah, we just don't quite know where Shinsuke Nakamura is going to fall when everything comes to WrestleMania. We don't know if we're going to have the Battle Royals. They're not announced yet in terms of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal or the Women's WrestleMania Battle Royal. And so we're a little iffy on where a few people are going to end up. One person who we were a little bit iffy on heading into WrestleMania season was Daniel Bryan. You know, we didn't see any perceivable way that he was going to get the title off of Reigns and be a one-on-one with Edge. We didn't think Edge was going to lose his Royal Rumble advantage spot piece for Daniel Bryan to go one-on-one with Reigns. There was a chance he got involved with the Cesaro Seth Rollins stuff with Nakamura as well, but then he started to pull away from that, and you were like, okay. But thanks to his performance at Fastlane and Edge's not calling it, well, I guess he attacked both people, so he kind of called it down the middle. Edge's performance at Fastlane as well as the special guest enforcer, Daniel Bryan has earned himself a spot, and it's going to be a triple threat match at WrestleMania for the Universal Championship, which, you know, to the keen viewer, just really gives somebody for Edge to pin so that Roman Reigns doesn't lose his luster from being pinned one-on-one with Edge at WrestleMania. But we will have to wait and see how that triple threat does play out. And just as a reminder, we will do our full WrestleMania preview next week when Josh is back, and we have a locked-in card at that point in terms of who we think is going to win and what do we think is going to happen here, there, and everywhere. So we'll do that next week with the locked-in. I'll take a little bit of a look today, obviously just at matches that have been announced and stuff like that, and same with Stand and Deliver. But yeah, both are a little bit up in the air at the moment because we've got Asuka versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's title on Raw. That was contracted, was signed. Seems like nothing's crazy, but, you know, we got Charlotte waiting in those wings. Always has a chance to come on out and do something. Make it a triple threat, interfere herself in it. You know, Rhea Ripley's come into this as the heel, Asuka the face. What are we going to see from Charlotte? Is she going to interfere in a different storyline? Is she going to take it a different route? The Raw Women's Tag Team still don't have the WWE Women's Tag Team still don't have a match for WrestleMania yet. Maybe Charlotte's going to team up with someone and finish off that Grand Slam. There's a few options floating around for what exactly they're going to end up doing with Charlotte. And we just don't quite know. Maybe she'll miss a WrestleMania. I don't expect that. I expect her to find a spot on the card. She's one of the other bigger talents that is not currently booked for the show. We've also got Riddle and Sheamus, with Keith Lee being kept off of WrestleMania due to unknown health reasons. It meant that Riddle's opponent was sort of wide open. Couple of weeks now on Raw, Sheamus has been antagonizing him, and you started to see the foundation be laid for a Riddle V Sheamus for the United States title. Should be an amazing match. Riddle's a good talent, and Sheamus is one of the best they got. Sheamus just really, really loves beating the HE double hockey sticks out of people at the moment, and it's working for him. You know, he had that hellacious match with Drew at Fastlane. He had a bunch of awesome matches beforehand. He had a great match with Riddle this week on Raw before the match was announced for WrestleMania. He's great. He's doing amazing in his role. and it's a little scary to think back to the point that this might be Sheamus's last run. You know, we were talking about the fact he was put in a tag team to sort of extend his career a little bit. He's working hurt a little bit, and hopefully, if this is the Sheamus we're getting, honestly, I'd love another WWE Championship run from Sheamus, or at the very least a United States Championship run here, if he takes the belt off of Riddle. So we'll have to see how well he can perform on the night, but it's possible he just gets used to enhance Riddle's star power even more and prove that he is such a brawler, or that Riddle can go with all of these people. Whereas, as we all know, Riddle was still the backup plan when last minute, when everything fell apart. So it's something that, you know, how far are they going to go with Riddle, and how far are they going to commit to Sheamus? Because despite Sheamus, he has lost a lot of matches recently, but they've all been super hard-hitting matches against the likes of Drew McIntyre. So he's still proving himself, despite the fact that his win-loss record as of recent doesn't look great. I think he won 3 of 7 or something like that. I don't recall the exact figures, but they're not the greatest winning record. And if I'm talking about Drew McIntyre there, then that's a good time to take a look at his clash with Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley was offering everybody on the roster to take out Drew McIntyre. And if you cast your mind back, real far back, and you think of Bobby Lashley and you think of Drew McIntyre, and not far enough back to be the headline of Slammiversary, a little bit more forward than that, and you're thinking of the infamous stable that didn't do a whole lot with Baron Corbin, aren't you? Yeah. That's definitely where your brain goes. Well, WWE tried to make that where your brain goes this week, as Baron Corbin jumped from SmackDown to Raw to beat up Drew McIntyre and weaken him for Bobby Lashley, as they play on this "we used to be a 3-man stable for a little while" card that they had. And it's a throwback for sure. I personally didn't remember the fact that these three were ever together prior to them tweeting out pictures of the fact that they were together. And then it was like, oh, I vaguely recall this. But yeah, it was something. It definitely wasn't the worst option they could have had. But now, since Bobby Lashley has removed the Hurt Business, or MVP has removed the tag team out of the Hurt Business, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, it's wide open. I guess he needs help from somewhere that's not them, you know. So get rid of Alexander and Benjamin and bring in Corbin. Yep, Corbin. I got nothing against Corbin. I think the guy's a decent wrestler who puts on decent matches. It's always Corbin. And hey, we'll see how long, if this was a little one-off throwback, or whether Corbin's going to stick around with Lashley over on Raw. I don't expect that. You know, he's already got MVP. He just got rid of the Hurt Business. I don't expect Corbin to play a factor at WrestleMania, but we just don't know yet. And thanks to his interference on Raw, he has earned himself his entrance theme being played this week, because I got to pick the entrance theme and it was the only thing I could think of this week. Again, because I goofed up. But we will be playing Baron Corbin's entrance theme for you right about now. And you're back with the Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, and unfortunately, Josh is not here with us again. I am sorry for my mistake. I was 2 hours late this morning to our early arranged time, so he could not join us this week for our Easter show. And as such, you've only got about, let's say, 12 minutes left of listening to this lovely, lovely voice talking to you about what happened this week in wrestling. But we're still gonna just take a look around, see what we've got here, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. And we're gonna actually flip over a little bit now to the Gold brand, because I believe Night 1 is gonna happen before we record, and then Night 2 happens afterwards, but it's a little iffy, just because of the recording times next week and when everything plays out. And then we're going to have to talk about our WrestleMania preview next week, so we're not going to have a lot of time for NXT's TakeOver Stand and Deliver results. So I'll take a look at those now. And unfortunately, again, you won't get Josh's opinion on who he thinks is going to win all these matches, but you will get my opinion. And let's be honest, that's the better opinion. He's not going to listen to this. I can say whatever I want here. It's my opinion. My opinion best. And we got the NXT Tag Team Championships on the line here at NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. They were obviously vacated after Danny Burch's injury. And we're going to see MSK go up against the Grizzled Young Veterans, go up against Legado del Fantasma. Three great teams here from NXT, three of the best they've got. Grizzled Young Veterans always love to put on that spoiler performance when you expect them to not win, they end up coming out on top and making everybody mad. That's kind of their role at this point. Legado del Fantasma, just as good. Really, they might be a little bit more focused with Escobar's NXT Cruiserweight Championship defense the next day. Of Stand and Deliver, but for this first one they have the chance to walk out with gold themselves. And then MSK, obviously the winners of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Cup, seemingly the favourites heading into this. You know, they won the Dusty Cup, they beat the Grizzled Young Vets. In theory, they possibly should have just gotten these titles handed to them, but I get the point that they want them to earn the titles. And I think this match is just a formality. I think these belts are going to be hitting around the waists of MSK. I think even if Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan were able to make it to Stand and Deliver, that they would have had a 2-on-2 tag team match with MSK and probably have lost the belts over there anyway. So I think this is just a way to put them in there, have them win the belts, earn the belts, rather than just have them handed it to, and really just put on a showcase, because all three of these tag teams can go, and it will be amazing to see what they pull off, with so many high-flying antics, but also the Grizzled Young Veterans sort of technical style as well. So we'll have to wait and see what sort of match we get, but I got to expect this is going to be a good like minimum 4-star kind of match here. And honestly, that is the sort of headline you're going to expect for NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, because there is a lot of good matches lined up here. And if we stick on Night 1, NXT UK Championship on the line, Walter defending against Tommaso Ciampa. Somebody's going to get their chest caved in, and it ain't going to be Walter. I don't know how this match would have been different had Thatcher been available and a bunch of extra stuff laying around with Imperium, but Walter has made the jump, come over to the US for a little while, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be heading home with that UK Championship. I don't expect him to drop it to Tommaso Ciampa here. It would be a little weird if they did, just because I don't think Ciampa's going over to the UK anytime soon. But I definitely think Walter is hopping back on a plane to the United Kingdom with the belt firmly around his waist. And unfortunately, that means that Ciampa is going to have to get his chest caved in as he just gets chopped and chopped and chopped and chopped and chopped and chopped until he is just a pulp laying on the mat, unable to kick out from whatever move Walter decides to do to put him down for the 1, 2, 3. NXT Women's Championship also defended on Night 1. Io Shirai going to be defending against Raquel Gonzalez with my girl Dakota Kai in the corner. we've talked about this over and over and over on the show, so we actually know Josh's opinion on this one. You know, who can take this title off of Shirai if it is not Gonzalez? Who else do you have? This is your one shot you got. And Gonzalez gonna have to take the title here. And it will be interesting to see if they commit and if they let Gonzalez win the title here. I could see this being a huge star-making performance for her. She's been great with Dakota Kai. Have the roles reversed here a little bit and have Gonzalez with the title and Kai being the manager sitting there. But I can also see this causing a bit of a rift and a breakup between the two. So I don't know how long-lived that friendship will be once Gonzalez holds the title. But I'm firmly behind a Gonzalez win here and taking the title off of Shirai, who's had it for, I want to say, a year, but it might not be exactly a year. It might be just under. But it's been quite a long title run. We're also going to get a 6-man gauntlet match to figure out who's the number one contender for the next night. But unfortunately, as I said, NXT hasn't happened yet, so we don't really know who the entrants are into that. So I'm just going to say Dexter Lumis wins it all and move over to night 2 and talk about Dexter Lumis versus Johnny Gargano for the North American title. I think this one does fully depend on who wins that gauntlet eliminator. If it is Lumis, I could definitely see Lumis walking out with the belt here. I think Johnny Gargano and the whole The Way piece has been amazing. And it's great as a comedy act, but it doesn't need the belt to be great as a comedy act, you know. I think they can pull this off just as fine with the belt disappearing from Gargano's waist. But they might want to keep it on there just so, you know, there's a little bit of focus on it. We will have to wait and see who his opponent is first up, who actually makes it into the Gauntlet Eliminator match second up, and, you know, whether they end up walking out with the title or not third up. NXT Cruiserweight Championship, you know, we got 2 of them. One of them, Jordan Devlin, obviously taken over to the UK at the time when COVID restrictions were a bit more strict, and Santos Escobar taking the other one as the interim champion. They got to unify these belts. We can only have one Cruiserweight champion. And in shades of WrestleMania 10? My mind is bad for recalling events. HBK and Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental title in a ladder match. Shawn Michaels came out here and said, hey, why don't you have a ladder match to determine your undisputed NXT Cruiserweight champion? And they will. I kind of hope here that Santos Escobar walks out as the combined champion, just because I think the belt has more opportunity on the main NXT than it does in NXT UK. You know, NXT UK has also got the Heritage Cup. It's also got the NXT UK Championship. And so I want to keep it here, but I don't think Santos Escobar is going to hold on to it all too much longer. I think this guy is going to move into other feuds and things not involving the Cruiserweight title. So it is entirely possible that Devlin takes it and goes back to the UK with the purple belt in hand. Finn Balor, Karrion Kross, it's the NXT Championship. We knew it was going to happen eventually. You know, Kross was champion for all of 23 hours as he got himself hurt in the match. Very, very reminiscent of Finn Balor's main roster when he won the Universal title and had to give it up after 23 hours because he got hurt in the match. They'd sort of mirrored each other a little bit here, the difference being that Finn Balor never got his shot back at that Universal title. But Karrion Kross, upon returning, will be getting his shot back at the NXT Championship. Finn Balor been holding it since then. And it's going to be absolutely brutal. These two are going to bring it. There's going to be a slugfest between them. And I think if the original plan was to go with Karrion Kross as champion, that we are going to get to see Karrion Kross as champion now, just a few months later. Finn Balor has been an amazing final boss of NXT in the meantime. So it is possible that he's convinced them that, you know, he should stay there, he should stay in that role. We just don't quite know. And we'll have to wait and see who they end up picking as their flagship champion for the gold brand before they head to Tuesday nights. And then lastly, an unsanctioned match, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly. It's going to be a bloodbath. I'm not even going to predict anything. Just tune into that one, because these two, it's going to be brutal. Cole is going to beat the poop out of O'Reilly. O'Reilly's going to beat the poop out of Cole. And these two are just going to go back and forth, and it's going to honestly be star making for both, even though I think both of them already have stars that are high in the sky. This is going to just be even more of a star making performance from these two. So that is all we have time for this week. Again, sorry both to Josh for messing up times here with Easter and everything, and to the audience for having to listen to my voice for the last 30 minutes rather than a back and forth between myself and Josh's lovely voice. You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRNDup, or our Twitter page, twitter.com/RNDup, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/RNDup. And we'll see you next week with results from NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, as well as our WrestleMania preview. It's going to be a jam-packed show. I promise Josh will be there, and you won't want to miss it next week.